Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Profits. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do our kicker video, and this one's going to be very, very brief. One, it's the very beginning of June, and it's kickers. So what we're doing is get closer, because we do think that as much as you don't want to overreach for kickers, and we can say they're just kickers, they do have value. It is important to have a good kicker. But we'll get to that later on. So we're going to redo this video as it gets closer to the season. But we want to talk about a few things. But before we get into it, first of all, we ran a contest out there. We've been talking about for a while. We offered a free hat to those out there that said that they were interested in having a hat, and we're going to do the drawing. We're going to do a drawing right now. We'll announce the winner, and then we'll send that out to you. What we're going to need is some information from you. I don't know what you're going to need, Ryan. If you're going to need a dress or whatnot, we'll mail that off to you.
You know what you can do? You can actually send us a tweet in the DMs if you like, or if you're not on Twitter, we could always just post a comment down below. We can give you our website.
You can message us on Facebook privately. Nobody else will see it. And then
if you have Facebook's another way to do it. So anything private that you feel comfortable with, just send us a comment down below, and we'll get in contact with you. And you can send it how you like: Facebook, Twitter, or email.
Okay, so thanks for all you guys that replied, tweeted, or whatever you did to show us that you're interested in having a hat. So we've got all the names in a basket, and I'm going to put in front, and we're going to have Ryan draw. Ryan, we're going to have you draw because you won't be able to cheat because you can't see because you're blind.
I have no idea what's going on. Hopefully I can find the basket.
Yeah, out in front of you is the basket, so you can reach in there. As you guys know, Brian lost his sight a couple years ago. Amazing that he can remember statistics. So,
yep, I do all this hard work for you guys. You got to 1,000 subscribers, so now I'm constantly working for you.
Yeah. So we got the name Dad Glander, I think it is.
All right.
Did I say that? Make sure I got that right. So
Dan, not Dad.
Dan.
And
yes.
he might be a dad, but it's Dan.
Dan Glander. So anyways, thanks, Dan. Looks like you won yourself a free hat. Let us know where you want us to send that, whatever information, and Ryan's going to get that out to you. Thanks for taking care of that, Ryan.
Yeah, let me know. It's 2018 sideline team time, and it's the same caps that the players wear on the sidelines. The backup quarterbacks are in between offensive plays. And then if you do have a favorite player from that team that you want to get a signature on there, we can get that on there too. So just we'll get that information from you and we'll figure it out.
Okay. So before we get into the kickers, I think for me, what's important is not necessarily looking at the talent of a kicker. It really comes down to situation. That's going to determine how successful a kicker is. Is he playing the right offense, right opportunities, things like that. I'll tell you kind of what I look for, and you guys can tell me your thoughts. There's a few things that I like when I look at a kicker. There's one type of kicker that does well. It's the high-volume kicker. And that's really a kicker that's in a great offense, that the offense is just prolific, and they move the ball a lot, score a ton of points. And just simply being on a high-octane offense, they're going to be successful. The other one I like is I love offenses that throw the ball really, really well but don't run the ball well. Offenses like that move the ball great between the 20s and often stall in the red zone. And so that creates a lot of field goal opportunities. Or the other type of kicker that I like is playing for a team that's very old school. A team that likes to run the ball, control the clock, play great defense, play the field position, and not afraid to win on 3-4 field goals. And I think about the Baltimore Ravens. For years, I've done that with Justin Tucker. I think last year they won one game. I think the final score was 15-12 on 5 field goals. So those are the things kind of I look forward to. What I would say, it's the same thing on defense, is if you don't get a top 10 kicker, just play matchups. From week to week, and you'll do just fine. Any other thoughts on what you guys look for?
My philosophy on kicker, there's two different types of thinking that I have. One is I'll grab a kicker and I'll set it and forget it. I mean, it's a kicker. For the most part, they're all going to be projected for the same amount of points every week. So I'll set my kicker in there and just kind of forget it until his bye week, and then maybe pick up another guy. Unless somebody really shows that they're blasting off 50-yard field goals every week, then maybe I'll switch up my kicker. But for the most part, it's just set it and forget it for me. The other philosophy I have is, in a league where you don't get charged any penalty for free agents, I'll drop my kicker at the beginning of the week to free up an extra spot for like a sleeper wide receiver or a matchup that I really like at running back, and I might start that guy, and then at the end of the week, I'll kind of look at my offense and say, okay, well, who do I really not want anymore? And then I'll drop that guy Sunday morning and pick up a kicker for that week, because realistically, it's just a kicker. So there's two different types of thinking that I have on kickers, and for the most part, I don't pay a whole lot of attention, but I love accuracy. I love guys that aren't missing extra points. I mean, extra points are out at the 30 now, and that's going to take a hit in your scoring for the most part, but yeah, I don't have a lot to say.
Some mind-blowing advice over there, Ryan. I like kickers who don't miss.
Well,
I like
I
that.
mean, extra points
Yeah.
points used to be gimmies, and nowadays it's. I mean, there's only what 2 guys in the league last year that were 100% for extra points.
Yeah.
It's negative points when realistically you should be just
Yeah.
getting that 1 point. It's a 2 point swing.
I personally hate. I'm a couple leagues where you don't get negative points, but I'm a couple that you do, and it's frustrating when he lines up for that kick and it's a flip on it. You know, now I get points taken away. It's frustrating.
Yeah, they used to be a gimme, and they're just not anymore. So we don't want those negative points.
Yeah. So we'll just get into some of the, Ryan, the list of the guys that you have here. We're going to get into your top 10 listing. We'll talk about just very briefly. And once again, we're going to update this. But before we get into the names, Christian, any philosophical ideas on kickers?
No, I completely agree with you. The one for me that you mentioned, the final kicker that you like, is the old school kicker, the team they like to play defense. And I like that, but we don't really see that. It's not realistic to find that. Baltimore sort of does it, but only because their offense sucks. If their offense didn't suck, they wouldn't choose to kick field goals that much. So, to be honest, for me, that's not something I look at quite as much. For me, it's more the high-powered offense, the really good passing, but really bad running. That's, for me, is the key that I look at.
Okay.
And when I looked at setting up my rankings, that's one of the things that I looked at as well as, how high power is that offense? I know with St. Louis, I'm sorry, not St. Louis, Los Angeles, it's going to be tough for me.
Yeah, I forget that.
With the Rams, last year they were the #1 scoring offense. Right now, I feel like the Saints could be in the top 2 or 3 scoring offenses this year, so they're going to get a lot of opportunities, and that's one thing you spoke on is volume.
Yeah. So the 10 names that you got here, and these names will move and they'll adjust accordingly as we get closer to the year, but you got Zerline, Elliott, Tucker, Lutz, Gostkowski, you've got Boswell, Bryant, Lambeau, Crosby, and Gould. Some of those names there, it's funny, Zerline, like you said, is really a volume play. Going into last year, last year he led the league, he was phenomenal, even though he missed a few games. But going into last year, there's some question marks whether or not they'd stick around because he'd missed some field goals or whatnot. But he recovered, had a great year, and he plays in a great offense. I see no reason why that offense is going to step back. I think he's another good one. Any concerns about Zerline, guys? You like him?
I think that's a solid pick. I really like the next pick in Jake Elliott.
Yes. Yeah, Jake Elliott surprised a lot of people. He helped you, didn't he, last year?
He did help me because it was one of the situations last year in multiple leagues where I was like, I'll just ignore kicker, and I'd focused on other positions and didn't get a guy in the draft. But I managed to pick up Elliott, and he was great for me all season. That team worked out really well for him. A very good offense, particularly better at passing than running. A great defense, fine kicking field goals, and he was a good kicker. He didn't miss very much. So.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I have Elliott so high is because, it's a personal thing, but that's what he did for me last year as well. I picked him up in a league where nobody was really paying attention to kickers, and I was like, this guy's scoring a ton of points. So I picked him up, and he did well for me. Just to go back for Greg Zerline really quick, he's one of those guys. That's one of the reasons why on my statistical breakdown I picked their career field goal percentage as well as last season's stats is because I really wanted to take a look at accuracy over the course of their career, and he did have some issues, but it seems that he kind of righted those last year, and that's one of those guys. They called him Legatron when he first came out.
Yeah.
Greg the Leg. He's kicking 60-yard field goals like they're nothing. So hopefully, if he can keep that accuracy and the volume, that's why I have him at #1.
#1, okay. Another guy that we mentioned is Justin Tucker. I like this guy. If there was a kicker in the NFL that's clutch, to me, he's that guy. He is. He's just clutch. He is money in the bag, and he plays for a great. I like
Did you just say money in the bag?
money in the bag.
Oh,
right?
man. You're too old to say that.
I am old. So he's money in the bag. For all you old people out there, you know what I'm talking about. So I like Tucker, I like Lutz out there. I think Lutz is in a great situation. New Orleans defense is improving. They got a good offense there. Any thoughts on those guys there?
Lutz, that's one of the reasons why I moved him up is, like I said, offense is going to play a huge role in where I have these guys. So I moved Lutz way up.
Then Gostkowski of New England. Let's be honest, any kicker for New England is going to be good, and he's their guy there, and so he's solid. You got Boswell. Now, Boswell had a really good year last year, but historically, kickers have struggled at Heinz Field there. But it looks like he figured it out, and he's kicking well. And they've got a great offense. That offense is another one that's just loaded with weapons. So.
High-powered. I'm excited to see what James Washington does as kind of that third wide receiver role this year. As a rookie, you don't expect a lot, but that offense is really high-powered, and I think Boswell is going to do big things.
Any thoughts there, son?
Well, at #7, I really like Matt Bryant. He's a guy that I really like. They've got a really good defense that's only going to continue to get better, a very young defense. and I like that offense can move the ball fairly well. It's not great. He's a good kicker. I just really like him. I think it's going to be a good year for him.
I do too. He was a kicker, I think, in his career was an average kicker, but he's gotten better and better as he's gotten older, and he plays for a great offense. So in the last couple of years, he's been, I think, in the top 3 in scoring the last 2 years, or something around there. Another one, we've got Lambo. You look at Lambo kicking for Jacksonville, he kind of falls into that idea. If there was another team that would be that old school, let's kick field goals, play defense, like Baltimore does, Jacksonville would probably be that, and he's in that setting there.
One interesting thing with Lambo is if he's going to move back into that role, because last year they used Justin Myers a lot. So hopefully Lambo does move back into that position. So I was kind of hesitant to put him up in the top 10 there. A lot of people don't have him. I know he's falling into the teens, late teens and 20s in drafts. So, I mean, obviously we're not drafting 20 kickers. So a lot of people aren't even drafting this guy. But if he does end up getting his job back and playing on that offense, I think that Lambo is going to be a top 10 guy.
Yeah, we got Crosby back there. Crosby's another guy a couple years ago had some struggles. He did recover. He does play for good offense. Once Aaron Rodgers is back, which he is this year. Now you got Gould for San Francisco. He was another guy who had a big year last year. The one guy that we don't have in the top 10, who I actually like quite a bit, is Harrison Butker. We didn't mention him, but I like him playing for Kansas City. Now we'll have to see a new quarterback, what's going to happen there, a new offensive coordinator. But I actually like him. There's some rookies out there. You think the kicker for the Vikings, Carson, how will he do? The one thing that's scary about that is the last couple of years, some of the rookie kickers have really struggled.
Yeah.
And so, any other thoughts, any guys you want to talk about there? We're going to keep this very brief.
One guy further down, I'm kind of excited to see what Brandon McManus can do for Denver. Solid defense, good wideouts. You get a good quarterback in there. He's not a great quarterback, but definitely an improvement. And a terrible running game. I wouldn't be surprised to see them shutting teams down, fine kicking field goals. That passing game can move them down, but then just stall in the red zone because of that running game. So I think he could also have a solid year.
All right. Once again, we don't want to belabor this too much. Any last thoughts there, Ryan?
I don't have any thoughts on the obviously we're going to move the kickers around. We're constantly updating rankings. I mean, things are running through my brain at all times. So I'm too high on guys, I'm too low on guys, but I'll move them around and we'll adjust them, and the rankings will constantly be out for you. So keep watching.
All right, yeah, as always, we're going to put out another video. We're going to do Rankings 2.0 here soon, maybe in a month or so or whatever, before really draft season starts to come around. As always, we're going to continue to update our rankings online. We thank you guys so much for joining us here for this video. As always, have a good day and God bless.